afternoon, good night. If you are listening to my voice, that means you are alive. I have reached 10,000 subscribers, and my 10,000 subscriber got something coming. And guys, please go and subscribe to my channel. I am underscore Stefan. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
I know you're not too keen on being camera, so I appreciate that. So I just want you to showcase Saba. What's your name?
Jennifer Johnson.
Jennifer Johnson, guys. She don't like to be on camera, even though she's a beautiful woman. That's okay. So she's gonna give us a little tour
Yes.
of the museum and
And
speaking of Saba.
Saba's history. So, welcome aboard. I tell all my guests, you're not just at the Harry L. Johnson Museum.
Uh-huh.
You have just walked in a lovely home that belonged to the Peterson family.
Okay.
Josiah Peterson was one of many of our finest sea captains from Saba.
Mm-hmm.
This is his lovely family of 9 that lived with him. This house was built since the 1800s.
Wow.
Yeah. We have Princess Beatrix, one of her very first visits to the island.
Okay.
I was honored to meet Queen Beatrix twice with my grandmother.
Wow.
The royal family has a very special place that they hold in their hearts with Saba.
Okay.
This photograph my dad and I donated to the museum. I found this in the National Geographic that was published in 1940.
Wow.
I was not aware as a local that Upper Zion's Hill, we had this huge crater, and apparently this is when Saba had its volcanic activity 5,000 years ago, and we hope it'll be another 5,000 years.
And guys, just let me interject.
Yeah.
This is the rock, is known as the rock, and it is an active volcano.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
All right.
Yes, it is. Here we have the lovely Rebecca Livingston. She was the lady from the bottom, family from the bottom. She was very strong and liberated, and Rebecca made it possible for this beautiful organ to be carried up the ladder-based steps, which is over 400 steps.
Wow. And guys, Rasta men will not like Saba, and I'm gonna tell you why. The capital of Saba is the bottom, and Rasta man them don't like the bottom. But we're gonna leave that subject for another day.
Also, I would like to show you our first automobile. The Jeep was the first to land on 1949. The Jeep would come on the big vessels, and then the Sabans had to figure out how to get it onto the shore.
Basically on the schooner.
On the schooner, correct. And this is coming up Ladder Bay, and this is the extent of the Fort Bay Harbor. Today, all this is redeveloped into the Sabans fishermen's sheds.
There you have it, guys.
And then on this wall, I found February 9th, 1959, we had Juancho Edison and his wife from Aruba with all our neighborly dignitaries celebrating our opening of the airport, which we all know is famous for the smallest commercial runway in the world.
Absolutely.
And we had the finest pilot, Captain Remy de Heren, who landed. He was from St. Bart's. He was also Dutch. That is him there. Captain Remy de Heren was also the first pilot to land a seaplane outside the Fort Bay Harbor in 1947.
Wow.
And then in this room, I'm going to show you the quarters of the Petersons.
Wow.
The master bedroom. The beds are quite high because, of course, you know, the Petersons were one of the first families to migrate here from the early days. So they had no storage in these homes.
Okay.
So everything was placed under the beds for storage. This beautiful work is called crochet, which we, the Saban ladies, love to sit and do our work. The Saba lace that you see throughout the museum was introduced by Mary Gertrude Hassel. She was at a very young age, at 12, which most of my aunts and them went abroad to Holland to study their education. She came back from Venezuela and taught all the work. The baptism dress is the most intricate piece we have. It's 140 years old. It was worked by Anna Barnes from St. John's. Back in the days, you had your toiletry and your chamber pot, because in those days, the only access you had was the outhouses.
And explain a little, what is an outhouse?
The outhouse is your outdoor toilet.
You heard it. And actually, guys, I know about it because I grew up, we had one in Anguilla. So I knew about it. I just wanted to hear it in her voice.
Yeah. The oil lamps, the Petersons were the first to bring, and kerosene and propane lanterns for the storms. We are fortunate that now that since 10-10-10, we're under Holland. This year, for the first time in history, all our electrical is buried underground. So for future storms or hurricanes, God forbid, we will have access of just turning our power off until after the storm passes.
Wow. But when you said 10-10-10,
Yes.
explain to me what is 10-10-10.
10-10-10 is when Saba, we voted for Holland for financial support because Saba is too small to financially sustain its
But is
own.
that a date?
It was the
10th
date.
of October
Yes.
and 2010?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The four-poster bed, these are our lovely mahogany trees from the north side of the island. They were all hand-carved.
That's beautiful.
We had sugar cane, we had the sawmill, we had coffee plants, etc. Here you have some of the young Sabans bringing up cargo from back in the days up from the Ladder Bay steps for 1 cent a day.
1 cent a day.
My mom used to make 5 cents a day.
And before we go to leave this room,
Correct.
I love this piece of furniture. How old is this furniture?
That's about 180 years old.
That's me and you 3-4 times.
Correct.
All right.
Hopefully we'll look as fine as that in the future. And then we have our lovely Queen Beatrix and Klaus. Yeah. And this is the whole family.
Is this family still alive?
Yes.
Wow.
Klaus is deceased.
Okay. Okay.
And now we have the family: Beatrix, Christina, Marguerite, Irena, Juliana, and Prince Bernard.
Prince Bernard.
And in this lovely room is where we represent all the sea captains from Saba. So we had a lot of Sabans who went to the Maritime school in the bottom. And when the Maritime school closed down, they went to Bermuda. So a lot of Sabans also live in Bermuda. We have some artifacts from the Arawak Indians from the 1700s.
Wow.
We also have some pottery, some blue delft. Most of our material is momentarily still in Holland, being studied by Leiden University, and will be returned.
Okay.
These are some of our older slates back in the days, some hair clippers, some currency, and all the navigational instruments that the sea captains used to use here on board their boats. We had Commodore Simmons, who was the first sea captain from Saba to captain the McCormick Cruise Lines. And then we have here Mr. Sloterdijk. He was the brigadier of the police force and the harbor master at the Fort Bay. This is our first telephone. And this was the custom officer who would stamp you in once you made it up to the Ladder Bay to continue your way to the bottom when you were entering. Our first.
Unspoiled queen.
Huh. S6, that means that license plate represented the sixth car on Saba.
Wow.
I'm sure the numbers are much higher today.
Absolutely.
And here I'm going to introduce the name with a face.
I love the wood floors.
Oh, yes. Everything is original in this home since the 1800s. And this is your Harry Luke Johnson, the founder for the museum since 1972. His vision came alive. He was also a police officer at one time in Saba, a farmer, and these are his lovely paintings on display.
Did he paint these himself?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
Correct.
Wow. I like these. Guys, do you hear the floor squeaking underneath my foot? That just shows how old the building is.
Correct.
This is beautiful.
Thank you.
So, did he paint them and leave them in this house? Someone had to acquire them and bring them back to the museum.
They brought him back to the museum.
Yeah,
His grandson is also Luke Spencer Johnson, and he's also a farmer today living here.
Wow.
Now the Petersons would dine here, and there's one thing we love in Saba is soups. We love to drink soups. So their customary was delicious soups homemade by local, either the bull meat or from the pigs or from goat meat. You'd have stew. On the other hand, where would the children sit?
Yeah.
The dining is very small and elegant.
Right.
So the children would be seated outside on the cisterns, which is also known as our water catchments. Every house, every home has cisterns on the foundations.
Right.
The Petersons not only loved to play their organ at night, they had a Victrola that as they seated with their soup, they would play their records. So they were very humble people.
I noticed the chairs are very, very low.
Yes.
I guess they was shorter folks.
They were much more petite.
And I noticed you were just as tall as me.
My grandfather. My grandmother was very small. Grandfather was tall, yes. And the Petersons were, like I was saying, the first family to have propane operating in their home.
Wow.
And this is my favorite part of the house. This is how my great-grandmother used to cook in the days.
Wow.
The official Dutch oven kitchens.
And I noticed this pot say large.
Large.
Is this a very old pot or is this a replica?
That is a very old pot that was used when the sea captains would sail to the United States and they would make trades and return.
The reason why I ask you because I own a large pot and I didn't know if this was
from the United States.
Right. I didn't know if it was a very old instrument.
It's antique.
Actually it is antique.
I'm going to show you. My mom grew up using a goose.
A goose.
The goose are filled with black coals, and then you had to press your linens without getting any smut on the linens.
Yes.
And if you did, you had to use the scrubbing board. That was your good old wash machine.
Washboard.
Your washboard. This was to process cassava bread. So they used to process the cassava, bake it on the wood, and then they would display the cassava to cure outside on top your roof.
Yes.
The same as fish. There was no refrigeration back in those days. So when they would butcher the goats or the bulls, we would salt everything to preserve it.
That's correct. I remember those days.
Yeah. And then we had, of course, the coffee grinder. And Saba has coffee beans growing natural through the hills. And the meat grinder, of course, a lot of kerosene and propane. In the days, we are still being inspired to plant our own herbs and spices. So as we cook, you just go outside. You have your mortar and pestles to work all your herbs.
Also, you didn't mention what the most important thing in this room.
The oven.
The oven.
The Dutch oven, yes, that was the main thing of the kitchen. So A lot of pork, different meats, fish, everything was cooked onto the wood.
Yes.
And
Guys.
all the vegetables they would have as plantations outside on the property. And I must say, the grounds to the Harry L. Johnson Museum is the most prestigious property we see in Saba.
Wow.
This is some sulfur from the sulfur mine. Unfortunately, it's under some work, so there isn't any access in through the caves at the moment till next year.
Okay.
These are the natural, the wood planers that the Sabans made their own tools because they didn't have power tools back then.
You know, actually, I have a collection of planes, wood planes.
Yeah.
But I had never seen nothing like these. These are really, really antique. Mine's is antique, but not like these.
Yeah, these my grandfather and they worked with.
Wow.
All handmade.
So there's no chance I will get one of these, right?
I am so sorry. You will have to come back. Here we have the lovely kids back in the days. The Scouts. The Scouts was a very active role for children who could join the Scouts. It gave them a lot of not only chores, but a lot of challenging, how would I say, lessons to learn about Saba and survival. They went through the whole package.
Right.
And it was the greatest place to learn. No better than Saba.
That's it.
This was your first water filter. This was your salt holder, so you would salt all your fish and your meat.
Yes.
And actually, these clay pots were used from the Arawak Indians when they would pump their water and keep it cooler.
Right. And guys, we are descendants of the Arawaks and the Caribs.
Yeah.
I'm an Arawak.
Wow. This is known as a bed warmer. I know Saba seems quite warm, but you know, there's a lot of months in the year that the mystic clouds just flow through your cottage, and then they would warm the beds at night to take the dampness out.
Actually, last night was pretty cool. So right now, I guess with the temperature, isn't there like a winter area?
This is our winter season.
And I'm telling you, it was really nice.
Yes. It's very comfortable in the shades in the morning and in the evening.
What is this? A safe?
That's our safe that used to, that was occupied by the government in the very first days in the bottom. Yeah.
And is this from the Arawaks as well? This piece?
This piece right here? Yes. And this one. And you know, we also had some very fine Saba men who went off to the Gulf War from Saba. And a couple from Saba wrote President Bush, and we were recognized for that.
Wow. Saba might be small, but a giant in the world.
Yes, we are. We're putting her on the map. Well, Saba's also known for the most prestigious hikes in the world and underwater world.
Underwater. And I know you can't go diving once you fly that day.
No, you can't. You'll get the bends, so stay safe.
Yes.
Diving is what made me drop my anchor here.
You
I
heard
put
it
a
first,
tank
guys.
on and overboard I went. That was
Hey
it.
guys, what you see in the back there, it actually looks like a garden tool, a HOE. Am I correct?
I believe so.
Okay. But yes, I do remember the goose.
And a
Putting
lot
in
of
the
flat
coal.
iron. How old did they start ironing?
From a kid.
I was like, wow.
Is this a bullet from a cannon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. From back in the 1700s.
Okay.
And this is their firearm. This is what they used to put down the goats and the bulls with in the
Yes.
past. Yeah.
And was this ever been shot by Mr. Johnson?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
For many years. All their livestock was on their property.
Wow. I noticed there's another gun somewhere hanging. I think it's in the other room.
Straight ahead.
Yes. So I have a question for you. If somebody want to donate money to continue the preservation of this museum, how will they do that?
We have a donation box up front, and we ask our lovely guests to sign our guest book.
Okay, and I also
we're under the Prince Bernard funds.
Okay, I also love the lamps.
This is a Victorian vase
Oh,
that my grandmother used to have.
okay.
So when guests were coming in your home, your flowers would be displayed here, and you had large peppermints they would put at the bottom of the tray for your guests.
Ah, I've seen one of these before, but I think they reconstruct them as a light.
Yes, it is.
So it was beautiful. So this is the gun I spoke about.
Actually, this here is the pipe stem from a sea captain that was washed on the shores of Spring Bay. So a lovely couple decided to make some pottery and donate it to the museum.
Wow. So can you show me where is that donation spot?
Right here, we have our lovely guest book.
Okay, and I will gladly sign it.
Thank you, sir.
And I will definitely leave you a donation. So guys, in order to keep the doors open here at this facility, they depends on donations. So I'm gonna just walk around the grounds and just to show you where your money will actually go. There's a lot of chickens grazing around, and she did an amazing job. I know she was a little nervous on camera, but most people are. And guys, in Saba, back in the day, they used to bury the loved ones on the premises, and you can clearly see this is an adult and this is a child. I don't see no insignia stating who is who, but I will go ahead and ask her. But this is the grounds, and it takes money to support and maintain this property. Look how luscious and green this is. Look at the mountain. This is the tallest peak in Saba. This also is another system. When it rains, the water is captured and it actually goes into that hole there and drains down into this holding tank, better known as a cistern. Nowadays, people build a cistern underneath their house, and when the water rain on the house, it get trapped and goes down in pipes into the cistern. So in a place where it don't rain a lot, this is the only source of water. But look, this is the grounds of the museum. So guys, I'm gonna put the description in there, and if you guys want to go ahead and send them donations, I will figure out a way how the money can be sent to them. I can put the address, so if you want to mail a check, I'm sure they will be glad and happy to accept any donations. I'm just noticing a bunny, lack of a better word, a rabbit over here. I don't know if he's tame, if he's a wild. Actually, there's two. There he go, hopping. Actually, he's big. I don't know if he's gonna attack me. And then there's a white one here. He's right there chilling. I guess he's eating the apple fruit right there. So kids can come also and play. They have swings for kids. So guys, if you find it in your heart to go ahead and support them in order to keep this piece of art, that's the way I call it, and Saba alive, go out and support them. There's a tortoise right there. The tortoise maybe 60, 75 years old. I don't know if you can see it. Guys, to confirm, I just spoke to her and she said that the adult is Josiah Peterson, and this is one of his infants that passed away.